Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Fan Splash podcast. I'm Tyler Hall.
I'm Jesse Swift.
And today we're going to talk about the Batman vs. Superman movie that finally came out.
Dawn of Justice.
Yes, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice.
And there's a lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
We went premiere night to see the movie on Thursday. Saw it at 6 p.m. There was a lot of theaters showing it at 7, but we like to go one step beyond. And
I didn't know that they went as early as 6 p.m.
Usually they don't. This is one of the first times I've seen a 6 p.m. showing. And then I actually, along with a couple other friends, saw the very next showing, which was the 9:30 p.m. So I got to see it twice in one night. So I've had a little bit extra information to sift through and process.
Just because they weren't there and they don't know. We were at the 6 p.m. showing in third row in IMAX with these 3D glasses just going,
Oh, yeah,
I feel like the way that I was seeing it at a lot of points, it was so low that there were like fixations with the glasses that were kind of like a little off.
So the edges were kind of blurry because
So I had to like just like push my glasses up and then like if I sit like that. But it was great. It was great.
Second showing I did not do IMAX 3D because nobody wants to spend $20
right.
Twice.
So I was gonna ask. You did the regular showing. Did you sit up a little higher or even
we did? We sit up a little past the mid row. And the funny thing is, a lot of the people, whether they liked it or not, they always encourage people for this film to go see it in IMAX. I like IMAX. I do. But it's twice the cost of what you would be paying originally, just about. And the difference wasn't as significant for me. The last time I saw a movie that I was really glad I saw in IMAX, believe it or not, was actually Godzilla.
The last movie I saw in IMAX. This is my first real IMAX experience. So,
really?
It's kind of nice. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. I remember my first one was like Deep Blue Sea or something at the Seattle Center. But
it was. Is that what it was with Johnny Depp narrating it? It was like a fish documentary.
I think Morgan. I have no idea who did this one, but totally off topic.
It was in Seattle Center.
Yeah. But anyway, so it was a cinematic experience, and we have a lot to say. And I think the way we really want to break this down is, I know there's a lot of you guys that haven't seen the film, or you're waiting for a few more reviews since the first wave of reviews have not been stellar or super positive. So we want to spend the first little bit of time just talking about, kind of giving our spoiler-free review, general basic ideas of some of the casting and general plot decisions and things like that. And then after that point, we'll give our spoiler warning and just really get into the thick of it. If you're okay doing that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I would say, generally speaking, highlights. I think we both have like the same obvious one that's kind of across the board for everybody, but go for it.
Highlights.
Yes.
Okay. Highlights were just straight away with the opening, just showing like the battle, with Zod. And it was so ground level, that whole.
I think it gave gravitas to Man of Steel. I think that scene made Man of Steel a better movie, which for a lot of people is a big deal. Me, I already loved Man of Steel, so it didn't take that much. But now watching Man of Steel, I'm going to picture Bruce Wayne running around the city. Not a spoiler because it was in the trailer, so yeah.
I put a bunch of bad stuff in here. Right away. It first started with the opening scene and it was badass. I was like, dude, the quality of the film was really, really good.
As far as you're talking about, like the cinematography,
the cinematography, absolutely,
and the way it was shot,
incredible. I think,
and that was like the second. It was kind of the introduction. It was like the first big scene. There was a little bit of scene before that, but that's kind of spoilers a little bit, but not really, because we get our first introduction into.
Are you talking about like the credits?
Yeah, there's the opening credits there, but we can talk about that a little bit later. But one of the big things, I think, is that scene alone with Bruce running through Metropolis. If you weren't already sold, that should have sold you on Ben Affleck as Batman.
Right away.
Because he's Batman whether he's got the suit on or not. Just running into the dust like you saw in the trailer and grabbing that little girl. It was awesome. And so he's absolutely my highlight coming out of the film is the casting of Ben Affleck. And I'm going to say that I was one of the supporters from the beginning, not to be that guy.
Yeah, I supported Ben Affleck from mostly the beginning. When I saw like
cautiously optimistic.
One of like the first designs, like the smaller bat ears, I was a little, I always like the big.
You like the big.
I like the big.
Now, but now watching the movie, picturing with the big ears, I think it doesn't fit this Batman.
No,
because we got the brutal, brawling, thick, like muscular Batman. And that
dude was ripped. Oh my god, unbelievably.
So, true story. This is in, I believe it was Entertainment Weekly or Empire. I'm not sure, but Ben Affleck went down to 7% body fat and put on like 20 pounds of muscle to be Batman. And I'm just like, geez, because before he did this workout, if you'd seen, there had been like maybe a year or two ago, there's a couple beach shots of him that came out through like TMZ or whatever. He had some flub on him. He was a little chub, and now he's definitely not chub.
Hey, I'm a little chub.
If I could go down to 7 pounds of muscle, I'd be pretty happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been bulking up a little bit. I've been feeling a little better, but you ever never mind. We'll get off that.
All right. Other highlights is keeping it in the Batman world. I think Jeremy Irons was a fantastic, different Alfred than what we've seen before. Not only did he have a close relationship with Batman, they had really great banter, but he was more hands-on.
Oh, he was always doing something. He was
working on the... Yeah. Well, the first things you see is he's taking the audio modulator thing for Batman's thing, and he's testing it on himself, and then he's working on, like, the tech cowl and stuff like that. You see, like, the mechanical cowl, and I think, so far, and I know a lot of people really love Michael Caine, but this is my favorite Alfred because I feel like they're basing it a little more off of the Earth 1 comic book Alfred, who had what's British military? Like MI6 kind of? Not military, but like the secret agent. Kind of like a 007 style.
Yeah.
But Alfred was like it was either agent or British military, something like that. And he was actually the Wayne's family bodyguard, not just the butler. And then so when they died, he became...
this is Michael Caine.
No, this is the Earth 1 comic book Alfred.
Oh, okay.
And I think they got that... Like, Jeremy Irons to me comes across like he used to be in the military. I know that Michael Caine said that he was off in like another country or something doing thing, but Michael Caine's such a sweetheart old man that
he strikes you as like the older like war veteran kind of person.
Sure. And Jeremy Irons, I feel like if you came into the Batcave, he'd knock your ass out.
Oh yeah, he's definitely the least frail Alfred that we've come across.
Well, yeah,
which is interesting because
this is an older Batman. Yeah, this is the oldest Bruce Batman we've had, but like the youngest Alfred we've had.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting. And I love the environment of... Okay, this isn't spoilers. Yeah. The environment of the Batcave. It looks like he's been Batman for 15, 20 years. Like, there's such an established world, with the gadgets and how advanced all his technology has become.
We'll get into spoilers with that, though.
Yeah, we'll get into more. Like, we'll get into the exact details, but I'm just saying, generally speaking... You could tell he's been Batman for a long time.
Yeah.
And
if they didn't, also reference it 1,000 times.
That too. What other highlights really stuck out to you? Not getting into spoilers.
I like Doomsday.
You like Doomsday?
I did like Doomsday. I like
Can't say what we liked about him, but you like Doomsday.
Yeah.
Because we gotta wait a little bit.
I don't know. I like the effects. I thought it was really loud.
Did you like the development of Doomsday, like how Doomsday came to be?
Mm-hmm.
You did like that, okay?
A little bit. I
didn't have a real problem with it.
Yeah.
And they kind of show some of that in the trailers, or at least hint at it. Because I think in this world, with what they were doing, it would have taken a whole nother movie to introduce Doomsday the way he was in the comics.
Yeah, it felt a lot of like kind of Spider-Man 3 with it, but
you had a case of the Venoms.
Yeah, for sure. But
there was a lot crammed into this movie. Is the fair warning to everybody. There's a lot going on. It's a little convoluted.
A lot going on.
Yeah. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes I think it didn't work.
I want to get it just a couple more positives, and then we can get into like things that were a little troublesome.
Because there's definitely more positives. And one of my positives that is not getting positive reviews across the board, because he was so different, I enjoyed Jesse Eisenberg's take on Lex Luthor.
I did.
You did too?
I did.
Okay.
I have some cons about it, but
I do as well.
Absolutely,
it wasn't perfect, but it was interesting enough to be where I appreciate it. They're doing a lot of changes.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
There are a couple scenes that are just, without him, without that portrayal, it wouldn't have made the movie what it was. So it was really it was
had
good.
some creepy moments.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about
it was
a couple of my favorite moments in the movie actually involved Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh, me too. For sure.
That's why he stood out.
Just the balls on him too.
Oh my god.
It's just yeah.
And what I don't appreciate, and I'm hearing this in multiple reviews, is people are comparing Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor to Jim Carrey's Riddler. Lots of people, not just like one reviewer. And I'm like, I don't see that.
If I'm going to get negative about it, I'm going to compare it to like somebody dressed up as the Joker and went to Comic-Con and didn't do a very good job. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was more like he had the name more than the characteristics.
It's very blatantly maniac.
Yeah.
You know, but
he's a little one note, but like what he did with that one note, I thought was pretty phenomenal.
No. There's some great executions.
He was kind of evil for the sake of being evil and for the plot, but like the way he portrayed his evil.
There goes my phone.
Well,
that'll be okay.
All right, we can set up later if we need to.
There goes one angle, so the rest of it is just all this.
Second camera just quit on us. Just committed suicide. I want to talk about Gal Gadot, whatever you want to, however you want to pronounce her last name.
Well, where's she from? She's from
Israel.
Israel. Yeah,
she was Miss Israel. She used to be a model, and then she was in Fast and the Furious. And if that doesn't mean that you're a great actor, I don't know what does.
Pepper Jack cheese.
There's a
fat turkey.
I was really I was cautiously optimistic because I don't want anything to suck in this movie. When they announced her and they showed some pictures and stuff, I'm like, okay, cool, great. I hope she's awesome. Then the first wave of reviews, the early reviews that came out on Monday, were all, oh my god, Wonder Woman's the best part of this movie. Gal Gadot's phenomenal. Can't wait for a solo movie. Everything else. Everybody was freaking out. And so when I came into the movie, I'm expecting her to blow me away. I thought she was decent. And that's kind of where I sit on it. She didn't wow me in the way that I wanted Wonder Woman to wow me.
This is the only bad thing that I have to say about Wonder Woman is when it kept like playing her theme and showing that weird like distorted picture of her face, like from, you know. Why
does she look like a man in that?
Yeah,
oh, and we
absolutely.
Should, well, ignore that you just heard about a picture of Wonder Woman in the movie.
She's clearly in the movie.
Well,
she's
in the movie,
but
referencing the picture is.
Oh, well, we didn't tell why there's a picture.
Sure, we'll get into that whole thing. I like to think that, like, yeah, I understand that was a little repetitive, but I do like her theme song as a whole.
Yeah, I just thought it was a little kind of Godzilla-y, old school Godzilla tunes, you know.
There's some truth to that. Overall, I love Hans Zimmer though, and Junkie XL just came off of Mad Max and helped score the movie as well.
Yeah, no, the score was good. I liked it. I definitely appreciate it for sure.
Especially all the Batman ones had really great scores.
Oh yeah. Okay. Another thing I really liked. Yep. Sorry,
go for it.
Was the Batsuit, just the fighting.
This is the best Batsuit that we've had because everything else has been somebody's interpretation of the Batsuit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Tim Burton kept pretty close to the comics. The Nolan one was very much a Nolan Batman. It was just like kind of armor. The problem with that is it was kind of cheap armor too. It seemed like everything could hurt him. But this is Batman. Like, they got the gray suit. All they did is take the underwear away, which they've done in the recent comics anyways, if they've done away with that. So it's all gray, big fat black symbol, short ears. And
I absolutely appreciated that. The gray with the black bat. I was very.
I wasn't sure because I've never been as big of a fan as the gray as everybody else was.
Well, but it's Batman. Like, when I think about Batman, I mean, clearly, like going way back to like Adam West.
Well, yes, but sometimes I think all black in a lot of things. I mean, I know there's the gray and the black, but
or even blue.
I did not want blue.
I didn't want blue either. No, yeah, if we're gonna go full cartoon, then we might as well make Wolverine with the like yellow spandex.
Hey, I'm still down for that.
Hey, well, it'd be cool.
Yeah,
They could do it. There's a way they could do it, especially with the way they got Daredevil.
I guarantee we're not going to see it in the R-rated third Wolverine movie, though.
Yeah, well,
probably not going to get the costume. But yeah. Anyways, the Batsuit was phenomenal. It was really good, and in one way, I think they cannot improve the suit. I think it's just perfection. But on the other end, I want to see a new suit in the next one. Like I want to see it evolve and change, and maybe some different designs and.
I think it definitely will.
There's a lot of things you can do, or something like Arkham Knight, kind of like the mechanized, like super kind of suit that he wears. I think would be really cool.
But, and we'll get into that more.
Absolutely.
Let's get into some cons.
Cons. This movie, as much as there's things that I love about it, it is at times a shitstorm. I think of ideas that should have been either saved for something else or construed a little differently, and it just felt like. How much can we throw at the screen for 2.5 hours?
I absolutely think that a lot of stuff was just thrown in there for the sake of it being in there.
It was. It had a little bit of. Go ahead.
And it was obvious.
Yeah.
A couple of things that we'll talk about later.
Yeah, and it had a little bit of, not that it's as bad as this movie, but it had a little bit of Amazing Spider-Man 2 syndrome, where it's like. That was so focused on setting up Sinister Six that it didn't focus on being a good movie. This movie wanted to be Dawn of Justice almost more than it wanted to be Batman v Superman.
Man. A lot of the focus is a lot more on, but I also think that I had a problem with how many storylines were going on at once.
Mm-hmm.
There was
a lack of focus.
One of the biggest problems that I had with the Dark Knight trilogy was that it played like a giant movie trailer. Like you were watching a movie trailer the whole time. At least in my thought, it would just like...
this movie or the Dark Knight movies?
Well, I'm talking about the Dark Knight right now.
Yeah.
When you're watching it, and it'll just jump character to character, but it keeps like, like it keeps like showing it like it's all like one big action sequence, like all coming.
Sure.
Kind of like when they're doing the Joker thing.
This was yeah.
In the Dark Knight, and and it's just all the characters. It's like all the events, kind of like going up to Harvey Dent, the whole Rachel thing.
Were you saying that this one felt a little? It's kind of jumpy.
It's very jumpy.
Yeah,
it's absolutely 100% jumpy.
It's very jumpy. There's that second trailer, or I guess it was technically the third trailer came out. The Doomsday trailer that came out. That trailer seemed very sporadic and jumpy, and all. As bad as that trailer was, that's almost the one that captured the movie the most. How much it was like here.
Up in. I think it was like mostly. How long was the movie? It was like
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours.
It went fast. The pacing was pretty good. I think.
So I would argue for the first hour.
You think it was slow or fast?
No. All the build up, it was great. Like everything leading up to where it went, and then just the whole like arc of the movie was actually pretty well done, and I liked it. But the scenes, it'd be like, because it was like 7 different storylines or whatever. So it was it'd be like Lois Lane here, and then these people are not together. They're in like separate parts of wherever the hell they are. Right? These storylines are not. So it'd be like Lois Lane, she'd literally...
Can I interject for a quick second?
Absolutely.
One of the things I've heard from a lot of reviews, which I think is kind of what you're leading up to, is there's a lot of great elements or moments in the movie, but it's lacking a through line.
Mm-hmm.
Like something that just kind of... The connectivity of all of it.
Yeah.
It's just like all these separate things happening, and then climax. To a degree. Like I was saying, it did that a lot. It was, it showed like I said, like Lois Lane, like she'd say 2 lines, and then it would jump over to Superman or something. Yeah.
It was that's how sporadic it was. It was like pretty jumpy. But then about an hour into it, hour and a half, I think it was pretty good at not doing that anymore. I think it got a little.
Got to the title card of the movie, the Batman v Superman. It focused a bit more.
Yeah.
I think on what it was doing. But yeah, the first half they just try to, and I think you already knew this. They are coming out when they come out the DVD Blu-ray release. It is going to
R-rated.
It's going to be R-rated. It's also going to be 30 minutes longer.
That's what I think is going to be a lot of the saving grace of it, for sure.
I hope so. I hope, because they could go 2 ways. It could either fill in a lot of the gaps, or add, 20 pounds of crap in a 10-pound bag. And just have it spilling everywhere.
Sure. There's always the possibility of that, but
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that like that being the issue. One thing that I wanted to talk about when I asked you yesterday if you've seen Entourage.
Yeah.
There's this character Billy Walsh. He directed the first movie that the characters were. The character Vincent Chase was in, Queens Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
So they thought he was a genius. Everyone thought he was a genius for making this movie. Well, Vincent Chase and his buddy E, they spend all their money making this movie about Pablo Escobar in Medellin, right?
Yeah.
And they bring Walsh on to be the director. They watch the first cut of it, and they're like blown away by its genius. You know, like, oh, it's so good, it's so good, it's so good. But Walsh is like, it's not ready, and he like basically holds the movie hostage, right?
Yeah.
And for a while, and then when they get it back, it's so edited and so jacked up and so fucked up that it turns out
now I
to
see
be
why
this
you wanted to
big
bring
piece
that
of
up.
crap,
Because,
you know?
Yeah. We're not saying that Batman v Superman's a piece of crap.
No, absolutely.
But there are elements of what he's talking about that are present in this film, for sure. I mean, it's hard to tiptoe around everything without getting into spoilers because, granted, a good chunk of it was shown in that second or third trailer, whatever it was. But I think I've gotten a lot of my pros and cons out of my systems for people that have not seen the movie. I'm hoping most of you have seen it at this point. So if there's other things that you want to add before we go into spoilers,
just one last one, and then we'll jump straight into spoilers.
Okay.
This, okay. And I have to carefully say it. The last scene that it shows with Lex Luthor in it.
Con. Yeah.
Absolute horrible acting, I think. It is very high school stage, you know, very I think it had an awkward execution, to say the least.
I would give that scene like a 6.5 because not necessarily, I mean, the acting wasn't great, but it does something for the movies that got me excited. You know what I'm saying?
I like that he's...
We'll talk about exactly what that is, but I don't view it as negatively as you did.
I think the performance was really bad. Absolutely.
I don't think it was really bad, but I think it...
There are parts that I loved about
he did need to wipe
his
his
character. Huh?
He did need to wipe his
nose. I think that saved it a little bit. It was there. But he's got snot on his nose.
We have a sniveling Lex Luthor, and it's different than a Lex Luthor than we've had. But I don't know.
But when I think of like some psychotic LexCorp, you know, billionaire philanthropist, I'm gonna think the daddy's boy, the brat. You know, he's
You're not wrong.
He's like a psychopath, but he's like the total
and
daddy's boy.
There's elements that were hinted at about his relationship with his dad that might explain kind of why he is the way he is. But we can definitely get into those details soon. So
all right, I think we're good to go into spoilers.
Good to go into spoilers. Okay. So, you followed us this far. If you have not seen the movie, then please come back after seeing the movie at the roughly 23-minute mark, and then we can get into spoilers. This is your official spoiler warning. We are now assuming that you have either seen the movie and want to discuss it with us, or you just don't give a shit, and you're ready to have everything spoiled for you because you're not sure if you're even going to go see the movie. So, with that, let's kind of follow a lot of the same... format here.
Absolutely, got it.
Now that we can say that we love Ben Affleck,
Batfleck for sure.
Batfleck.
Yeah.
Now we got to talk about the reasons why, because you've seen part of that fight scene. There's a lot of people going back and forth whether they wanted to see this movie, and then the last trailer came out that showed a chunk of that famous fight scene. And tell me you weren't waiting for that fight scene to kick in like the whole movie. You're like, where is this gonna fit?
It was too fast.
The fight scene was too fast?
Very rushed. It is...
The placement of the scene or the scene itself was rushed?
The whole thing.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. I could have watched 30 minutes of that fight.
It needed to be more about that fight. Yeah. Or at least them meeting up a couple of times. Having a couple opportunities. I know that when...
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking about the Batman-Superman fight?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm talking about when he takes out 12 criminals.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I agree with you that is Rush, and I do want to talk about that. But the winning moment for me, I mean, he was a great Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. He had like all the paranoia, the anger, the power of Bruce Wayne. There's so many great things. But the winning moment, really, aside from the Battle of Metropolis and stuff, is him coming in, like, breaking it through the glass, coming up through the floor. He used like 6 bat gadgets in that scene, which is something that Nolan refused to do. Mm-hmm. We saw a Batarang maybe once.
I love that.
Did a couple.
He was so in tune with his gadgets. It was really good.
They were an extension of his limbs. Mm-hmm. He's just like, grapple gun through your shoulder, pull you over here, punch you all over the place. He scorpioned somebody, dude. He would get over here, brought him over, and just punched him in the face. And I was
he broke people's necks.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they're either dead or in traction. Like, and then a big problem that a lot of people are having with this Batman, which I've justified to myself, but if people have problems with it, I'm not really going to rag on him for it. Batman kills people. There's dead people in this movie. I'm not just talking about the dream sequence.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Because clearly Batman does not kill people. That's...
Right, that is one of the golden rules. Them taking some... or a lot of inspiration from the Dark Knight Returns comic book storyline. I see what they're doing, which is maybe at one time he didn't kill people. Maybe for the first 10 years of his career he didn't kill people. But
that's why I see people saying, like, why is the Joker alive then?
Yeah.
If he kills people, why is the Joker alive?
Well, there's a
20 years of Batman.
Yeah.
He's been Batman for 20 years.
Especially if Joker's responsible for killing Robin. The joke's on you, Batman, on the Robin suit in the Batcave. I'm wondering if Joker wasn't in prison. That's why he has all the tattoos. Wasn't in prison for a long time before.
I know you don't like the theory, but I think they're purposely trying to allude to the Jason Todd theory.
I don't like the theory. I really hope it's not true.
I don't think it is going to be true. I don't think it is going to be true.
But they're trying to throw people that direction.
Yeah, I think they do.
With that line, 20 years in Gotham, how many good guys are left?
Absolutely.
It's possible. But then you're also saying that Jason Todd created Harley Quinn, which I resent a lot.
But then I would also want it to be... I would also want there to be a Dick Grayson. I want to finally get a Nightwing.
Yeah, I really, 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 really want a Nightwing. I want all the Robins except for Carrie Kelly. I think she's worthless. She's like the 4th Robin. But I want Dick Grayson. I want Nightwing. I want Red Hood. I don't care necessarily if we have Red Robin, but... Tim Drake, he's the leader of the Teen Titans.
Tim Drake, right?
Yeah. But this is, I love that this is the most brutal Batman we've ever had, and it's also very situational when he does take people out. It's kind of like, I mean, he's got military grade weaponry, whether it's the Batmobile or the Batwing and stuff, and people are shooting rockets at him and all this other stuff, and he's not like point blank shooting people in the head, but he's blowing up the stuff that they're in. So it's death by association.
The usage of guns is just when it went like full. You were watching Supernatural?
A little bit.
How far are you in Supernatural?
Not very far, but I don't care because
how far is not very far?
I haven't finished the first season yet, so just go for it.
Are you sure? This is Supernatural spoilers, by the way.
Yeah. Oh. Very, very brief Supernatural spoilers. Go for it, because I haven't watched it in like 5 months.
The scene, the dream scene, is very, very reminiscent of this scene in the 5th season of Supernatural, where it takes Dean forward in time to show what happens if Sam says yes to Lucifer and takes and lets Lucifer to be in as his vessel. So there's a whole scene in the future that's very desolate, wasteland, everything's a little fucked up, and it comes down to Dean and Sam, you know.
Yeah,
and then,
I get that.
It very much comes down to Superman and Batman.
Did you like Mad Max, Batman Road?
Yeah, I thought Mad Max. Did you shout Mad Max during that?
I mean, not
somebody did. I don't know.
Really
I don't know. Like, I was thinking it, but he's got the gun, and it's just like
when it comes to post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
I don't care that Batman's killing people because at this point there's almost no civilization. Like there's nothing left. There's no reason to have morals anymore. It's a fight for survival, and there's no place for like, Superman's wiped out 3/4 of the planet or something, but I'm gonna hold back on
Well, Superman clearly fucking stops his heart.
Oh yeah, he like rips his heart out and that. Yeah. And then when Superman walks in, this is also a different Superman. We don't know what made him. Well, yeah, we do. He said, "You took her from us." So Lois died at some point.
Clearly, Lois Lane is dead.
Which is very reminiscent. If any of you guys have played the Injustice game, awesome game. Also, there's comics. There's a few years of comics that follow that video game.
Dude, considering how she was always just fucking there, like in the middle of it, you know, like
I found it less of an issue in this than I did in Man of Steel. She pops up everywhere. In this one, it shows her getting places.
It's just, she actually. I'll have a helicopter. Yeah. Or whatever. Yeah.
I think maybe they were listening to the complaints, like how did Lois get to where Zod was?
Situationally, though, isn't she just historically the damsel in distress? She's always.
They've given her a little more to do, I think, in these movies than they have in the past. Where she's not just the damsel in distress.
Right, absolutely. Her character has a little bit of depth, but it's not like.
I'm trying to think of a good example. So, like, dude, take Rachel in Dark Knight. Is the worthless damsel in distress that adds nothing to the story.
Only Lois Lane, weakness too.
Exactly. Yeah. She does things like she went to the desert. She's a detective as much as she's a journalist. She reminds me a little bit of Karen Page in Daredevil, but more of a damsel in distress.
Yeah, Karen Page is really good in Daredevil.
In the second season, I freaking hated her in the first season.
Well, she brings about the death of
Wesley?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, you should have already seen season 1 already. God, what are you guys doing?
Season 2's out. This is the future. This is Netflix. Come on. I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay, that's okay. I have more pros. Let's talk about what we liked about Lex Luthor. And I had to pick this up the second time I saw the movie because I think
making it rain with photos.
Oh my god! I got chills.
Just the balls on him. He knows this guy could kill him with his pinky, and like no way. And he's just look at your mother. Your humanity is just fucking tempting him in the face of fucking like this god is like, I know you have your humanity though, and you'll want to save your mother.
And it's a smile on him. Yeah. Oh, so he captures Martha Kent and. You think he's just going to show pictures of her roped up. She looks ghastly. Martha looks pretty much dead. She's white. There's like a scene where her eyes are like kind of rolled back. Like they've been beating on her. Mm-hmm. She looks terrible. And he's got this whole handful of photos. And he's just like, F you, Superman. You can suck my dick. And it's just like, it's so terrible. And like at that moment, because I was going back and forth whether I like Lex Luthor or not, or at least the portrayal. And I saw that. I was like, there's a glimmer of hope in your portrayal because that is psychotic.
That is what sold me for him. Just fucking like I was like, just right in his face. This guy that could just fucking decimate him. This god that just flies through buildings.
And he puts his hands right in his face. Like then Superman looks up and he's got the red eyes. It's like no. You fly away. She dies. You like do anything else. She dies.
He's so sure. That he has that humanity that he wants to keep his mother alive,
Like, he's sure that Superman's not just going to blow him away mid-sentence.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? I'd be running so far.
That he's not going to be like, I'll fucking find her. Yeah. Right? And then, and then just like, yeah. Cool, that was great.
So he's got two scenes, I think, that really characterize Lex Luthor and show how psychotic he is. The other one I didn't understand until the second time I watched it because I was talking during the first... Or the big talk between Senator Finch and Lex Luthor when they're at his house. And Yeah. When, I forgot what Lex...
I did not see that coming, by the way.
I forgot what Lex said, but she's like, you can piss in a jar and call it Granny's Sweet Peach Tea or whatever. But I didn't hear her say that the first time I watched the movie because I was turned and talking or whatever. Yeah. So when the jar showed up, I was like, what? Like, I didn't understand why she was so freaked out. But then when I watched it the second time and I understand the connection... I was like, oh, that's frightening.
Yeah.
And then not to mention his assistant, Mercy Graves. Mm-hmm. Lex Luthor just sent her in there and abandoned her. She blew up with everybody else. But yeah, I almost jumped backflip over my seat when the council exploded.
Yeah, I was not expecting that at all.
Jordan was elbowing me. He's like, I think that wheelchair's a bomb. I'm like, you're probably right. But still, when it went off, it made me jump super bad. This Lex Luthor, obviously he's a businessman because he's got, the big corporation company that he does, but he's a lot less subtle than comic book Lex. Because comic book Lex has a charm and he's disarming, you know what I mean? And that's why he's able to run for president. This Lex Luthor will never run for president. I don't think. They would never let him.
Well, he can't. He's a convicted felon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, also Metropolis doesn't exist, so...
Yeah.
What else? Let's see.
Oh, yeah, I had...
Is there more that you liked? Yeah. Visuals. We already talked about visuals. Were amazing. Problem was, it's kind of like two sides of a coin. The visuals and cinematography was great, but how everything was put together was not great. So it's kind of like just...
The cinematography was very impressive.
It's
when
like...
it comes to, like,
It's like you have gold in the center of a pile of shit. Kind of like, you know that somewhere in there there's a 10 out of 10 movie.
But are you willing to dig through the shit to get to the goal, is the thing. It's like, you gotta...
I wonder if that extra 30 minutes is going to be that gold, like...
You gotta have the hope, just like we had with this, like... You gotta have the hope.
I have the hope. I just don't want it to be...
R-rated. It's...
Well, here's the thing, is Zack Snyder is familiar with R-rated movies. Like, you could do the first Superman movie without making R. There's no reason to make a Superman movie rated R. But now you're introducing this dark, grim, brutal Batman and storyline. There's even, like, a cast member that's not going to be in until the DVD release. Jenna Malone was cast as, I think, Barbara Gordon. So I don't know how they're going to introduce her in it. But.
Well, what if it's just 30 minutes of just extra dialogue and a titty shot?
Are you talking about Lois Lane in the bathtub? Yeah. I've heard that a good chunk of it, actually, which almost disappoints me a little. It shouldn't. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. They said a good chunk of that 30 minutes is going to be more action because there's some brutality that they had to cut from the film to make it PG-13. They said it's not going to be R for sex. It's not going to be R for language. It's going to be for, violence.
Good.
But I hope it's not 30 minutes of action. I hope some of that fills the gaps because...
Some better dialogue.
The action's almost not where the movie was lacking. It's the intertwining in between, like the first section.
The first hour.
That's
the first
such
hour.
A mess.
Just the sporadic all over the place jumping of scenes.
And I feel like a lot of the climax wasn't earned. Like Wonder Woman shows up and everyone clapped and I was like this, but I didn't have the same reactions as everyone. I'm like, oh good, she showed up. But like, and I thought she did fine in the earlier scenes, but for some reason there wasn't that much weight to her showing up, and her whole fight was pretty much her being CGI, except for when she got knocked back.
You pretty much knew she was going to be there.
Oh well, you did because of the trailer.
Well, yeah, it's not like it was a yeah.
Yeah, they even showed her.
When I saw Star Wars and Han Solo and Chewie stepped on the scene for the first time again, everyone was like, yeah. I don't know, Wonder Woman. I don't know, because.
Do you think that Gal Gadot is ready to carry her own movie?
Yeah.
You do?
Absolutely. I think she'd be a great Wonder Woman. I think they got the introduction out of the way. You know that it's an introduction.
Oh, yeah. Well, you see, it's going to take place in, like, the World War I area, and you got Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, which is great casting, but I honestly think it's a waste because Chris Pine should have been Hal Jordan.
I agree with that. Chris Pine would have made a perfect Hal Jordan.
Because his Star Trek Kirk is Hal Jordan. The way he portrays Kirk is exactly what Hal Jordan would be like.
Yeah.
Cocky, arrogant. Cocky and arrogant.
I didn't think that Ryan Reynolds was a terrible Green Lantern.
No, I could list about 10 things wrong with that movie before getting to Ryan Reynolds.
Number 1, the suit.
Oh, God. The green bulge.
Yeah. No, there was a lot.
He would have made a better Flash, probably.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. But
I like Deadpool. Yeah, perfect.
For that,
perfect. Yeah.
I had. Okay, go for it.
Lois Lane grabbing the Krypton fucking scepter.
I was warned about this. I wasn't told exactly what it was, but they said that there's like something towards the end of the movie where she has it, gets rid of it, has to get it again. Somebody else has to help her get it. And I'm like, oh. And then when I saw that, I was like, yeah, it's really annoying.
It's exactly like in Titanic when Rose is going down to get the axe to save Leonardo Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Jack. I just saw her like getting deeper in the water looking for the stick. It's her. It's Rose looking for the axe. That's all I could think about. It completely took away from that scene for me.
It was perfectly put by another reviewer. They said the struggle this movie had with Lois Lane is constantly trying to make her relevant when she didn't need to be there.
She didn't need to be there at all.
No, I liked her being in the desert in the first scene, and I also liked some of the intimate moments between Lois and Superman where she's like, this means something to people. She's giving them a little pep talk. Her involvement with the movie should have stopped after that pep talk. She should not have been in the helicopter flying over. Except for she did say, he's screaming out his mother's name, blah, blah, blah. But Superman should have just been like, that's my mom. He's like, if I don't tell you that's my mom, you're going to kill me. So I should just be like, my mom's name is Martha. But then maybe he didn't trust Batman, thought Batman would go, I don't know. I figured it out.
That scene, a lot of people have a problem with, and I did when I saw it, but when I thought about it and chewed it a little bit, when he's like, why did you say that name? He's like, like mad.
Yeah.
And then she goes, that's his mother's name. And it's just, all it takes is like that step, like that fucking, just that little thought of doubt that he's doing the right thing, Can
I kind of, I have two feelings about that whole situation. I do think and agree that him hearing his mother's name and saying, like, they're going to kill Martha would stop him doing what he's doing and, like, kick in, like, and he'd start thinking. But what I
Maybe I'm not doing the right thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that was fine. What I don't like is then he goes to Martha and he's like, I'm your son's friend. I'm like, bullshit!
Oh, yeah.
You were
no,
5
I
minutes
was
from
literally about to do the fucking kill blow. Yeah, he was gonna die. He was gonna die.
And then, like, 5 minutes after that, they're making sarcastic comments back and forth. I was like, rushed.
I think, and that'll take me back to McAvoy and Fassbender in First Class. I don't think that they had the relationship built that they had to have the friendship that they do in the future.
It was another example. Like, it is very similar to First Class because casting was great. The chemistry could have been there with McAvoy and Fassbender. Like, if they did it right, it could have been there. And then with this movie, I think Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck could have chemistry. Like, they have real life chemistry together.
I don't think that it wasn't there at all in either instance.
It was just undeserved.
I don't think that people should take the "I'm a friend of your son's" as seriously. When you go in a suit to rescue someone from a place,
I did like her line after that. It's
pretty well. I
figured.
Yeah. I'm a friend of your son's just kind of like clears the air about it.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like, I'm on your side right now. Is more of it. I don't think that he literally meant like him and I are buddies. We're about to go have a beer.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with you, but then I'm also just backing it up with, like, following that scene, the way that they just exchanged a couple times after that, I was like, so what, you guys have been chums for years, you got a couple quips back and forth. Like, I wasn't ready for that. It didn't feel like they had bonded. There wasn't a bonding. Like,
I agree.
Having the mom's same name is not a bonding experience. It was enough to stop Superman from being killed.
It was enough to make him just
relate, like, maybe.
Well, when I think about it, I'm thinking about a guy. It's like, oh, why did you say it? He's like about to do it, and then he goes, why did you say that? And then he's kind of winding down with that whole thing. Why did you say that? Why did you say that? And he's like saying, save her. Yeah. And she goes, it's his mother, and then it's not like immediately like, oh, it's just like, I think like in the back, like of his,
he's still pissed off when he throws the spear.
He's got like just this flicker of doubt that just immediate, and then that's enough to bring him down, like totally. And I think
I understand the bringing down. Yeah. I don't understand the newfound friendship.
No, absolutely no. Yeah, no. There is no chemistry there.
Yeah.
And Cyborg. I just want to jump away.
That was okay. So now we're going to talk about, like, oh, man, the Justice League. I just want to call it the Justice League shoehorns. Because there's one Justice League setup, other than Wonder Woman, of course, but there's one other Justice League setup that I loved. However, this BS email back and forth between Bruce and Diana should have just been, like, called, hey, want to team up? Subject line. And then, like, sent all that crap to her. And some of them were so weak. The Cyborg one looked like something out of the CW. It was so whack. It looked like it should have been released as a viral video online to promote Justice League.
Scott said something about that being great, the Cyborg cameo being great.
I wanted to comment on that, and I was like, no,
I can't. I wanted to save it for you. It looks. It's first of all, that whole like camera capturing the turning moment thing is a trope for sure.
It's so bad.
It's such an overused movie trope. Yeah. It really is. And then second, the acting is like YouTube video acting. It's so bad.
Did they film that 2 weeks ago before the movie came out?
I wasn't expecting Cyborg to be in it at all. I didn't know.
I know Ray Fisher was cast in the movie, but I thought like, oh, you cast Ray Fisher, so we're gonna see Victor Stone. Also, and I wonder if this might be part of where the R rating comes in. The first scene that was shot for Batman v Superman, like 2 years ago or whatever it was a giant football match. They had like Gotham City versus Metropolis. It was a football, like they filled out a stadium and they filmed a football match. And Cyborg, Victor Stone, is a football player. He's a high school football player.
Okay.
And so if they're neighboring cities and not states, then it would be like a high school or college football game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that's where we should have been introduced to Victor Stone instead of this little weird video strange thing. The one thing I will say about that stupid Cyborg thing is they had a boom tube, man. Do you know your DC Comics? That square cube that transports you to different places in the galaxy? Like, that's how Darkseid can teleport to Earth in various places, is he opens up a boom tube. Yeah. And have you ever seen Justice League War?
No, it's on Netflix. I thought about watching it this morning.
Freaking watch Justice League War. It shows what they do in Justice League War to create Cyborg is exactly what they're doing in this movie.
Okay.
Which is, they basically use like a boom tube thing to save Cyborg's life, and it kind of creates Cyborg after he's been horribly scarred in like an explosion. They totally RoboCopped him though. Him being like a fourth of a body, and they had him all like on a pole. It was so whack. Okay, so let's talk about the other Justice League things. The Flash thing was kind of cool.
No, it wasn't bad. I think it was the best out of all of them.
The him in the grocery store.
Nice and subtle.
It was pretty subtle. It was okay. And what also made sense is it makes sense how Lex could get a surveillance thing from a grocery or from a what do you call it? Gas station.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense because there would be a camera there. So all he'd have to do is hack the system or whatever and get that. That one made sense. And then what was I going to say? There's something else I want to say about the Flash thing. I don't know how I feel about Ezra Miller as the Flash yet because I love the Flash show so much. I don't really feel one way or the other. The Aquaman one should have been so much cooler. I don't know. Or I wanted him to actually show up in the movie, not just be in an email. I did love that his eyes glow in underwater, though. The fact that he comes out like a sea creature.
I liked that.
Oh, the sonic boom in the water was awesome, but like, I've heard a couple people now make merman jokes, like Zoolander.
I'm not okay that like they happen upon him, and he's just like sitting there in like
merman,
great video quality,
yeah,
and all that stuff. Is it supposed to be like one of those, like?
Well, you saw there was like 3 or 4 drones around it. And I think they're all like camera drones and stuff, and they're investigating and stuff. But like, yeah, he just pops out of it, and it looks like that. It almost looked like that was his hiding spot. Like he's just chilling there. He's like, "This is my boat," rah, and then he takes off. And I'm like, was there a reason he was there? There's so many things that were just no motivation in this movie. Like, somebody was really scatterbrained when they wrote the script, like, and this happens, and we're going to show this happen, and we're not going to have any explanation why, and people should just fill in the blanks.
I respect what it was about the Aquaman thing. I just wanted it to be more like because I think they were trying to portray it as like looking for like the colossal squid or something. Yeah. Or like some other like deep sea.
I think it should have been more mythical. Like it should have been grainy and kind of like Loch Ness Monster style. Where like, what did we just see? Was that a man?
Yeah.
And
a center of controversy or something like that.
Yeah.
That was like clearly it's some other.
Oh, and what really bugs me about the email files? How he's got names and logos for all the characters. I'm like, are you telling me Lex named the Flash? Yeah, it's like you got the lightning bolt. You have WW for Wonder Woman. Who called her Wonder Woman? What makes her Wonder Woman? Like, you made that logo.
She's probably already Wonder Woman.
That's possible, because she might be like a legend of the war or something like that, like Captain America was. And then, Aquaman. He's got like the A with the little. It comes like all of them. Or he's even got the Cyborg logo. I'm like,
there are some absolutely ridiculous things about this movie that are just the whole email itself was like, really.
The email thing, like,
granted, how do you know someone's gonna check their email anymore anyway in the first place?
I did geek out during every one of the videos because I was like, but then in retrospect, when you look back at the film, you're like, that is some of the laziest crap setup I've ever seen. It reminded me of Amazing Spider-Man 2. At the end, you have this guy in the hat or whatever, and he's walking by Doc Ock's like tentacle things, Vulture's wings. He's like walking by the setup for Sinister Six. I'm like, oh, okay.
Which never happened.
Never happened.
I liked Amazing Spider-Man 2 though. Out of all the previous Spider-Man films, it was probably the best. It had the most feel for me as like the old animated series.
And
all the old Spider-Man games that I played.
Yeah. And the quips that he had with like Rhino and stuff was very cartoons.
Yeah, I think it was like very very comic book. I think it perfectly captured what Joel Schumacher failed to capture.
Yeah,
and
good campiness. But there was things that didn't work. Like, okay, I can't get into a Spider-Man conversation, but just rushed character development on the villains and lack of motivations. But that's okay.
Absolutely, with Jamie Foxx and Electro for sure.
Green Goblin was terrible. But coming back to Batman v Superman, I'm trying to think of what other big points. Oh, well, we were talking about the Justice League setups, and I said there was one that really worked for me. Nothing in the emails really worked for me. However, when that dream sequence starts with Batman, it's really sudden. You're like, the F is happening right now. Like, I don't understand. Like, there's no real setup for it. And I didn't like that because it was so jarring. But then you get the explanation of what that dream sequence was at the end of it.
But was he truly asleep?
No, I think...
Because it's just kind of like... It doesn't show him wake up or anything. It just shows him like... like after it, right?
Well, the Flash.
It shows the Flash, I'm saying. Like, it shows like, you were right about him the whole time, right?
Right, yeah.
But then when it pans away from that, it's showing Ben Affleck. Is it showing him go like this? Or is he like this?
I think
because what I think, I only did see it that once, and I wasn't like, I was still like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
But I think that I'm pretty sure that he was awake, and everyone's calling it a dream scene. But I think it might have been more of like a forced vision of the future or something.
Yeah, kind of like what Rey had, sort of in Star Wars.
Exactly, when she grabs the lightsaber. Right. Exactly. That's not a dream.
No,
I wouldn't call that.
I don't know, because there's some things that doesn't make sense. There's no reason that he would dream. Like the Darkseid Omega symbol, the parademons, those flying things were Darkseid's minions. Those are the things that do everything for him.
Okay.
Kind of like the Chitauri is for Thanos in Marvel. He has the parademons, and then Flash. Like, he wouldn't just dream that out of nowhere. So it was Flash reaching back and like giving him a vision.
It was clearly Flash reaching back and giving him a vision. But people are arguing that like, how would Flash go back in time into his dream? And I don't think that it was necessarily a dream, because he's looking at the email files, right? Yeah. And then when he goes back, he's still looking at the same thing. It doesn't look like a whole lot of time as he lapsed.
Right.
Like he was just like forced with a vision.
What I think it is, and it looks like they're doing something a little different with the Flash in this, which is cool. He's almost... not just sci-fi, powers. He's almost like supernatural, like in the way that he can do things. And I think
that is the whole thing about Flash. Yeah. Is that with his speed, he's
a god.
He can do impossible things. Yeah. Clearly.
And I think that might be like a new Flash power, is him going like future vision and just kind of like giving that to Bruce and giving him that glimpse. But what I really liked, and I didn't catch it all of the first time I watched it, but the second time I think I caught all of Flash's dialogue. And I think it could be interpreted a few different ways. But he starts talking to Bruce like Bruce would already know him. He's like, you were right, but he's telling him these things. And then you see, if you're looking very carefully, I think it's supposed to be Barry Allen, too. He pauses. He's like, am I too soon? Like, he's realizing that he's reaching to a Bruce that doesn't know any of the Justice League people yet. And that's when he's like, you have to find us. Like, you have to bring us together. And I think the movie wants you to interpret him saying you were right about him as him talking about Superman. But I think he's was meaning to talk to a different Bruce, and it's about Darkseid.
Oh,
is what I perceived it as. But for the service of the movie, it further convinces Bruce that he needs to take out Superman. But I don't think that's what Flash was saying.
No, definitely not his intention. No.
Yeah. But because I think maybe Bruce finds out about Darkseid and then like is going to start telling people he knows Darkseid's coming or whatever. So that's what Flash is saying. You were right. Darkseid was coming. Is how I interpret it.
I've got one more thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Superman when he comes up and he like tells Batman to stop essentially.
Yeah.
What does he say? He says
he's next time they shine your light in the sky, don't go to it. The bat is dead. Bury it. Consider this mercy.
How long has he been? He grew up on Earth, right? Has he not ever heard of Batman or any of the things or any of the people he's put away or like any of the stuff like Joker, any like major event that would have been like movie worthy previously in the past? There's 20 years of events that could have like
since it seems like shortly after Jonathan Kent died, like if you're paying close attention to Man of Steel, Clark has traveled the world. Like he hasn't been in Kansas or Metropolis his whole life. Like they show he's going from job to job, like country to country. He's just kind of traveling the world and staying on the down low. So maybe he's been distant from that world and doesn't necessarily know. Unless when he was a kid, maybe he heard legends of the Batman or something like that, which is possible. But I kind of see how you're seeing like as a little bit of a plot hole.
Yeah, but like if Batman and Wonder Woman have previously existed and he's like this new vigilante or whatever. Or
yeah.
Not necessarily like street level, like board.
Sure.
But like what makes him the know all tell all of it? What is he thinking in his mind when he says that?
I don't think it's necessarily that he's the know all tell all, but it's him taking a stand against something he doesn't agree with. Which you can't argue that Batman is a brutal son of a bitch in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, for sure.
And a lot of people are like, well, Superman can't talk because he killed Zod. I'm like, I hate those people so much.
I've never heard that argument.
Really? Oh, there's so many people that are pissed about Superman killing Zod. I'm like, you can't just lock Zod away.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, he could put him in the Phantom Zone. He's like, yeah, he did use the Phantom Zone. Sucked up all the other Kryptonians and Zod escaped. And then hence the fight. And then Zod was about to take out like a family. And Zod was also responsible for the destruction of Metropolis and all that stuff. So
dead.
Yeah, dead. I had no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then Superman, when he came to Lex Luthor, he said, I'm going to bring you in without breaking you. He could have killed Lex Luthor. He doesn't want to do that. He's not a murderer. Batman kind of is, but
I think he'll step away from it.
Batman?
Yeah, I think he'll have to. The Justice League. Unless it forces them all to just turn into like murderous killing machines.
The thing that might let him continue doing what he's doing to a degree is I think a lot of the Justice League villains are going to be aliens to a degree. And nobody cares if Batman kills a bunch of aliens.
Nobody cares if anybody kills aliens.
No. So, is there... So I love when Flash showed up. I thought that was so cool. And me and Jordan were like smacking each other in the chest. We're like, ah! What stands out, positive or negative? We're kind of getting to a smorgasbord of the leftovers. You said you liked Doomsday. What did you like about Doomsday? I think you wanted to get into that.
I just really like what he looked like, how he sounded, how he was just all over the place. He was just like fucking pissing everybody off. Everybody says he looks like a basic rendering of like from like Lord of the Rings or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a cave troll.
Yeah.
Or a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah. He's kind of ugly. But, when his hand is, like, doing that thing...
I like that he, like, peeled off, like, into a second transformation.
Yeah.
But the transformation was so minor. Like, these little baby spikes. And that... There's something that could be the saving grace for me for Doomsday is if they bring him back. Because there's still a body.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how Lex will get his hands on it, but somebody else... I want Doomsday to come back. And I want him to be full Doomsday. I want to see the jagged spikes and just monster. And you're not alone. A lot of people they liked the portrayal of Doomsday. What I didn't like is that he didn't really move that much. Like, he did some jumping around when he first showed on the scene, but when he got in that
He's
center...
essentially like Godzilla, like with the army, like trying to take him down.
Yeah, he just kind of stood in this area and kept doing those like waves of energy. One would come up to him, he'd go, smack. Superman would come up, smack. He just kept smacking right, and he was standing right there, and he'd grab people and throw them. He like never moved this little position that he was moving like back and forth in. I think the Doomsday fight should have been like across a freaking city. Like, they shouldn't have been able to hold him right there. And then I did kind of like the uselessness that Batman felt during that scene. Like, he saw Wonder Woman and Superman fighting Doomsday, and he's just kind of like,
Well, he was hanging back for a bit, and then he just started, like, like, getting all his
oh my
stuff
god, the grappling hook stuff. He's like, zip, and then he, like, zips twice, and then he's up on this little, like, banister thing, and Doomsday's coming down. He throws a smoke bomb and, like, flips off the balcony and, like, uses the grapple hook again. I was like, Batman.
Batman.
Freaking
for sure.
Batman, dude.
Yeah, he's like,
We've never seen that, like, that much Batman. It was so great. I honestly, what this movie has successfully done, like, I'm kind of looking forward to the Justice League right now, because it's right as of right now, same writer, same director as this movie. Concerns me. But Batman solo movie. They haven't announced when it's going to be. They have said that they are doing it.
They are doing it.
They are doing it. We don't know when exactly, but sometime within the next 4 years, probably. The rumor that is got a lot of credence to it is that Ben Affleck will be directing it.
That would be amazing.
That would be phenomenal. And that he will be co-writing it with Jeff Johns, who is the leading writer in DC Comics right now, who has written some of my favorite New 52 comics. He made Aquaman cool again. If you read the New 52 Aquaman comics, which I have 4 volumes of, so good.
I never thought Aquaman was stupid. I never thought Aquaman was as boring and as useless as he's always poked fun of and made out to be.
Yeah.
I always thought that
not
was
the
Superman.
whales.
I mean, Superman's definitely not useless, but he was always not very cool.
Yeah.
Just I mean, I don't know if it's that he could do everything or whatever, or if it's just his story is just so old. It's so old. What it's like 1938, 1937 or whatever when it came out.
Yeah.
It's just kind of...
I did like that when Clark was fighting with Perry White's like, Kent, this isn't 1938 anymore. I was like, that's the year that Superman came out.
Okay,
so, Easter egg.
So I actually did like, a lot of people think that Superman got a little bit of character development, but not a whole lot in it. And
I think he showed a lot of under the skin stuff in this movie.
I do like that he's kind of a dick. He is when it comes to like Batman and everything, you know. And then
they gave Superman depth over these last 2 movies that he's never had before. He's always been the Boy Scout. They gave him buttons to press, which I liked. Where like before, you know, somebody attacks Lois, he's like, "Oh man, gotta go save Lois," but he basically pulls a Kingpin. He's like, "You think you can threaten Lois?" Or I love that he's a mama's boy. He's a dick of a mama's boy. In my favorite part, or one of my favorite parts of Man of Steel, is Zod has his mom in like a chokehold, and you hear this sonic boom, and he comes flying across Smallville, grabs Zod, starts punching him through like a nuclear power plant, drags his face through a cornfield, and he's punching him. He's like, "You think you can threaten my mother?" And then like tosses him into a 7-Eleven. I was like, you don't tug on Superman's cape. Like,
no, it's definitely cool.
Yeah,
there's reactive factors to it. Yeah.
Yeah, they what they're trying to do with Superman here, and sometimes they do it properly, sometimes they kind of fail at it, but they're trying to humanize him, which brings me back to one of the reasons why I liked the moms with the same name moments. Is Batman has looked at Superman much like the rest of the world has, where he is a godlike alien that kind of holds this power over the entire world, and I see him as a threat. By hearing that's his mother's name, not only does he connect with him on some level, but it humanizes Clark as a character to Batman.
Yeah,
which I think was a good moment. It still doesn't really establish their friendship.
Now let's talk about,
please,
Superman's death.
That should have been Man of Steel 2 or something.
It was absolutely stupid, because you know that it's bullshit.
Well, see, as comic book fans, we know kind of like what's going to happen and how. The whole dirt lifting up on his coffin at the end of the movie was something from like a 2003 comic book movie where they're trying to force feed us all the themes in the movie and not trust us to figure it out for ourselves. We all know Superman's coming back for Justice League. Right. Henry Cavill posts on Instagram, "I'm starting my Justice League workout." You know, we didn't need that. Like, it felt like the director going, "Huh? He's all right. He's all right." We're like, yeah, of course he is. Like, you don't need to spoon feed us that information.
Yeah, they could even like keep him dead longer and make the world like without Superman build up and everything. But like that rise in the dirt, they can't really use that argument now. He has to like
now he has to come back like right away.
Well, he doesn't have to come back to the world.
No,
nobody has to know that he's around. But,
sure.
Yeah, necessarily. I don't know. I just thought it was stupid. I thought it was, you know, again, Magneto with the chess piece. You know,
okay, this was and that. Which is why I said it's like a 2003 movie, because X-Men 3 came out like sometime around then. That's what it felt like. I'm just like, well, of course Magneto's going to get his powers back. It's Magneto. Which was never really addressed. The next time we see that, Magneto's in Days of Future Past, and it's so far into the future, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But that brings up one of those moments where I said one of my big problems with this movie is there's so many times where I look at a scene, I'm like, you could have said this or done this, and it would have been way better. Take a movie like Captain America Winter Soldier. I did not walk out of it thinking of anything I would change in that movie. I was like, oh, that was as close to flawless as it could be. I loved it.
Yeah, the Winter Soldier was really good. Age of Ultron had a lot of upsets.
Yes, I would have changed a lot of things in Age of Ultron. I would have completely changed Ultron, but I could talk about that.
Yeah, well, you did want to talk about Civil War, how you think that it'll measure up to this.
Yeah, coming into the film, I definitely thought this is going to be the movie of 2016. I had anticipated it to be so.
So did I, for sure.
But it's already not the movie of 2016. I had more fun with Deadpool.
For sure. Yeah, which absolutely
upsets me a lot, because I like Deadpool quite a bit. I didn't love it as much as everyone else did.
I think everyone else
overhyped it a bit.
You know how people have a problem with like Seahawks fans, and they say they're all bandwagon fans, and you know, if they started losing again, they wouldn't have any of the fans, and you know, they didn't have any fans before Super Bowl 40. I feel like nobody knew about Deadpool really until like a couple years ago, and then even when the movie trailers started, half the people that went to Deadpool didn't know who Deadpool was before they heard about the movie. When they go to see this, R-rated thing. I could think of a couple of friends of mine that I'm not going to out at all that are just, you know, you could see through all the bullshit. You're like, you didn't know who that was. Yeah. You know, and who cares? You know, if it's something that like interests you that you want to go see,
it might create more fans. They might now become real fans by like looking stuff up.
Absolutely. Like Jessica Jones. I didn't know who Jessica Jones was.
I knew nothing about Jessica Jones.
I didn't know who Jessica Jones was before I watched it, but I watched it and I loved it, and now I'm looking forward to the Defenders. But the Deadpool thing, like, I think that hype train kind of like holds like high resilience, and it's kind of like you know, like, oh, you know, that it was something new. It was funny, it was comedic, it was R-rated, it broke the fourth wall, it did all these things. That's what are making people praise it as better than it was when you and I come into it from like a critical point of view. Sure. We know what to expect from the character. We know what to expect from a movie. We know what to expect from a Marvel movie. Absolutely. Or a Fox Marvel movie. Right. But I do think that I had more fun at Deadpool than I did at Batman versus Superman, for sure.
And I wouldn't automatically assume that any Marvel movie coming out is going to be better than this movie. The difference being that it is a sequel to Winter Soldier, and it is the Russo brothers coming back to direct. It is the first time we have Spider-Man in the movie. And I think I'm going to like Spider-Man in Civil War more than I liked Wonder Woman in this movie. The big thing about this movie is like, hey, they're introducing Wonder Woman, and then this one's like, hey, they're reintroducing Spider-Man and Black Panther and some of that. And just by looking at the trailers, I think they're going to be handled better. Yeah, and Ant-Man on the air.
No, I'm really excited about it. The first, like, the trailer...
You said not really, or no, you are really?
No, I am really excited.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I am excited. The first trailer, I was
very
before it came out, I was like, look, dude, they're filming Civil War right now. It's going to come out next year. It's going to be better than the first Avengers and Age of Ultron combined. and Age of Ultron hadn't even come out yet.
Right.
And I'm like, you don't understand how good this movie is going to be.
Yeah.
I saw that first trailer. I was so underwhelmed. I was like, no, there's no aspect of this that sounds like even remotely. You're putting out those promo pics, and then there's the Super Bowl spot, all that. It wasn't. I was just like, okay, I get it, but it wasn't Spidey that sold me on the last trailer.
No, but Black Panther more
but
so.
There were so many sequence of events, just the way that it was put together was just so much more. And then I'm just like. I have to go see this movie. Yeah.
So absolutely. I mean, that's what I think. Civil War will be better, but like, I
hope it will be better.
Yeah.
I really do.
And then going into this movie, I was also thinking. I think regardless of how this does, I think Suicide Squad's gonna be awesome.
Oh,
I think Suicide Squad's gonna be so good.
I'm a little worried, about Harley Quinn's cheap delivery. In a couple of things.
A lot of people are looking forward to Harley Quinn the most. That's not what I'm looking forward to the most. I like that we're getting introduced to her, and we'll wait and see how she does. I'm so stoked for this new incarnation of Joker. I think it's going to be really interesting.
But, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot.
And Batman's in it.
I know.
Briefly,
I think there's going to be some investment into, personal investment into Deadshot.
Mm-hmm. Because he's got his daughter.
Yeah,
but he's always had his daughter. Like, people are like, oh, why are they trying to make him a hero? He's always had his daughter. So, coming back to the movie, one of the things I was going to say is I almost think it would have, and I think a lot of Batman fans would have been happy with this too, because Batman was hanging back so much and watching everything happen.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to see Superman pick up the Kryptonite spear and see it weaken him, and see him like trudging up to Doomsday, because like maybe he couldn't fly or whatever, maybe it just took all the energy out of him. He's just kind of walking up to Doomsday, looking at him like he's walking into his death. Have Batman sprint from behind him, like flip over him, grab the spear, and just throw it into Doomsday.
I was expecting that to happen. I was expecting him to fly out, start kind of puttering down, and
that also would have sealed their friendship.
Yeah, and then Batman would have picked it up, and then
like it would be like the passing of the torch. Like Batman did the final blow. Like Superman's like he got there, and he can't quite do it because he needs Batman. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see the relationship be they need each other, and it was just weak and rushed. The death of Superman should be like one of the greatest DC movies of all time, but they put it in like a 5-minute little meh.
So, and then we don't even have Hal Jordan yet or anything.
No.
Or any of that.
And that's the other thing is the death of Superman story affects the Justice League, not spawns the Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's lines that should have been really good, but because there was no setup for the lines, they fell flat. Batman talking to Wonder Woman and saying, I failed him in life, I won't fail him in death. Failed him in life? You were trying to kill him like 10 minutes before the Doomsday fight.
I feel like... So I'm not really rehearsed on the whole death of Superman thing. Doesn't he just like reappear? Like, surprise, I'm alive?
Yeah, but that's after there's like all these Superman imposters and everything else.
Right. Yeah, no. But when he does come back, it's like, I'm alive with no explanation, right?
Well, they explain it later.
Oh, they explain it later? Okay.
Well, what happens is there's something about Kryptonian DNA where kind of sun is like a sensu bean for them.
Right.
Yes, and then he also had kind of like this incubation chamber kind of thing, like he was floating in like Luke Skywalker for a while, and that's why when he first comes back, he's wearing this, or he's got long hair, because his hair was kind of like growing while he was chilling in there and revitalizing, and he also wears a black suit when he comes back. I don't think they'll do that here, but they did give him the black coffin with the symbol on it, which was pretty cool. But he wears this black suit that his Fortress of Solitude, that has all this technology, made the black suit for him, because it was supposed to absorb sun faster. So it's supposed to power him up quicker. And that's why he was able to come back and fight. I don't think they're going to do any of that. He has no Fortress of Solitude. He had his ship in Man of Steel, but he has no real Fortress of Solitude, which is like Batman not having a Batcave.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really... I want these to be better than everything Marvel has.
No, Superman, no here.
No, Superman have no home.
Yeah,
Clark's homeless.
What's crazy is that it had so much potential, And I feel like I really do hope those 30 minutes just like give it a little more of a solid story. But yeah, a lot of stuff was so rushed. A lot of stuff you really wanted it to just be what it wasn't, you know.
Yeah.
And it didn't deliver on
the
lot
movie
of
I had
things,
in my head was
you know?
was better.
Yeah, I mean,
I saw the
like,
trailer. I was like, oh, they're probably going to do this, or they're going to do this.
Absolutely.
And I know it's bad to have preconceived notions, but there's things that made more sense. Superman should not have died in this movie. They could have brought Doomsday back.
I thought it was a little cheap.
Yeah, they could have brought Doomsday back for like a big return, like after a Justice League movie or something.
Right.
Like when they decided to do it with Superman standalone or something. Maybe at that point, obviously Lex is out of prison or whatever, and one of the first things Lex wants to do is revitalize Doomsday and make him more powerful or something. And Justice League's busy or something, or Batman's good, whatever. But that Doomsday kills Superman would have been much better. This was, I don't know, that fight was anticlimactic. I honestly like the Superman Zod fight more than I like the Doomsday fight.
They can't necessarily like throw every character that needs to be a big important part of something into it, you know, and
they just wanted something that they could throw into with the Trinity and have the Trinity fight.
So what they really want to do is you know, Marvel's getting up to the Infinity War. You know, it's getting really deep, and they got to catch up on their movies. They got to throw a lot of story.
I wish they didn't feel like they had to catch up.
Well, I feel like even if they did, I wouldn't be opposed to watching like a 3.5 hour long movie or something like that. You know, like they could put like a lot more. I think a lot of people would be, but
I watch a 3-hour Justice League movie.
Is there a 3-hour Justice League movie?
No, I'm just.
Or are you saying you would watch it? Yeah. I don't know who would be opposed to, you know.
And they're doing Justice League Part 1 and Part 2, and I almost feel like they're going to make a mistake. I hope that Darkseid is not Justice League Part 1, because Darkseid is the Thanos of DC. And there's a lot of characters you can do before Darkseid. They should do Brainiac.
I hope that they don't. Forgive me. Who is Brainiac?
Brainiac is this. He's just kind of sort of big green guy. He's got like these 3 purple dots on his head, and he goes he's like a world destroyer, but he's learning. He's like a living computer, and he kind of takes the knowledge from like planet to planet. He's like a conqueror. And he's always been a really great Justice League villain. He kind of acts like an Ultron. Like his consciousness can go everywhere.
Okay.
So he's kind of like DC's Ultron. But he's a bigger threat than Ultron is. Since he goes planet to planet, not just like, he's not just an Earth villain. And then, you know, Darkseid's obviously like the big one.
My problem with a lot of Part 1 and Part 2 movies
is they should have been one movie.
No.
Oh.
The whole Part 1 is, and actually I'm thinking that it might be the thing to do because I saw it, the reverse of it, in Batman vs Superman, and it, like we said, it didn't accomplish a lot. But a lot of Part 1 and Part 2s, they don't accomplish enough that they needed to in the first part. They like do all the character building and all this stuff,
like the Hunger Games or something.
Yeah, so that when they do Part 2, they have to just like shove it down your throat.
Yeah.
A lot like how nothing happened in Attack of the Clones, so they had to shove it down your throat in Revenge of the Sith. Justice
League and Avengers Infinity War are both Part 1, Part 2 movies, and I hope that's because they have 2 different stories to tell. Like, obviously Thanos is like the overseeing villain of the whole thing, but I hope there's, because Infinity War was like, there's an Infinity Gauntlet and then Infinity War. There are 2 separate stories, so I kind of hope that's what the movies are. They're a continuation of one big story, but they are 2 separate storylines. And I thought Justice League Part 1...
And then when are these supposed to come out?
I'd have to look it up. It's all before 2020.
Okay.
Justice League Part 1, I do know, comes out next year, though. 2017, after Wonder Woman. But I hope that we have 2 different villains.
And 2017 will be good, too. We got... I
was going to say Doctor Strange, but that's this year.
Yeah, well, we'll have Guardians of the Galaxy, too.
Yeah?
Right?
Is that the...
Huh?
I'm trying to remember. I think 2017 is when we get the Spider-Man movie too.
Yeah, Spider-Man. Guardians of the Galaxy will have episode 8.
After already seeing Rogue One this summer.
After already seeing Rogue One.
Or not this summer, it's December, isn't it? I think they booted it up.
You know, I don't know. But yeah, that'll be cool. And then Justice League.
Okay, I just got reminded. There's a couple things in the, not to completely jump around as much as this movie did, but there's a couple things that bothered me a little bit because they came out of nowhere. The random demon thing hopping out at Bruce Wayne when he's in the cemetery, where you're just like, okay, thanks for the jump scare.
Did I miss that?
He goes to the cemetery. He's like touching his mom's grave, and there's like blood dripping out of it. And he looks at it, and then all of a sudden a demon bursts through the grave.
That was clearly a dream, though. He wakes up from it.
Yeah, but it was. I guess he's just haunted by his parents' death.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, that's not horrible. And I see kind of why. I mean, they show Clark kind of like runs off, and then he runs into like the ghost of his dad, and I was like, weird. Like, I wish they would have approached that like it was a dream instead of him just like stumbling across a vision of his dad. Because his dad was telling him the story about how no matter like how much shit hits the fan, his Clark's mom grounded him and helped him like have the nightmares go away. And there's like this big speech stuff. The speech was nice, the message was nice, but it was just random and made the movie all the more convoluted and jumpy.
I don't know. Well, I'm thinking back to Man of Steel, and then like what was the actor's name? His whole
his dad?
Yeah.
Kevin Costner?
No.
Russell Crowe?
Russell Crowe.
Okay.
Yeah, Russell Crowe's whole part in that was just a little taking away from the story with me. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was bad.
I really liked it, but that's okay. Okay. So after seeing this movie, and it's a big question for a lot of people, do we think the team of Zack Snyder and Chris Terrio is where we should be for Justice League?
No.
I was so excited when they said that they got rid of David Goyer, who was the screenwriter for Man of Steel. And one of the weakest parts about Man of Steel is some of the script. Like, we got rid of David Goyer. Ben Affleck brought his Oscar-winning screenwriter from Argo over to do this movie. I'll say, amazing. There's no way that can go wrong. Why was the writing so terrible in so much of this movie?
Well, I don't think it was necessarily a whole lot of the writing, too. Like I said, the sequencing was a little off. A lot of it was a lot of rushed, a lot of that. But I don't think it would have been a bad movie if it would have just been edited a lot better. If the scenes would have been put together just a little bit more well, I think, you can't say that the script doesn't like beg for more than it got.
Yeah. I think that's true. And I praised Zack Snyder for Man of Steel. I was like, thank you for giving me a Superman that I could get excited about. And in this movie, I was like, whatever you think about Man of Steel, it had focus, through line, everything was connected. It didn't feel hodgepodgey at all. But then I don't know. Zack Snyder had like 3 years to make this movie. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where it went wrong, but I think that it's time for, and some people are calling the DC Universe the Snyderverse, because I think he's producing, or he's helping with Wonder Woman, or he's like having his hands in all this stuff, and I kind of want him to back down, and if he's going to be part of Justice League, he should be the producer, because I want Zack Snyder's visuals in the DC Universe. I think his visuals are incredible. They're awesome, but he's not a great storyteller.
This is another thing that needs to be very like strict when it comes to like adapting like things with like such a huge and already well built fan base. Mm-hmm. Like Star Wars isn't repeating its mistakes with episodes 1, 2, and 3, mm-hmm. where it was, at least as far as I know, and I could totally be wrong, but George Lucas was the director of all 3 of those, right?
Yes.
Whereas before he Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi all had different directors.
Right. Yeah. He did New Hope, but he was around, right? I think, for the other 2.
Right. You could have a hand in it. You could have a hand in it. Right. Absolutely, of course. But when we got these new ones, we're having a different director.
And Rian Johnson, who's doing episode 8, did Looper, uh-huh. and I love Looper.
Oh, Looper was great.
Looper was a great movie. Yeah. However, episode 9 is being directed by Colin Trevorrow, who did Jurassic World, which has me shaking. Like, I'm horrified. Because not only, like, some people loved Jurassic World, some people liked it, some people didn't really like. the more I think about Jurassic World, the more I kind of hate it. To be honest,
it's bad.
I really.
It really is. It's cool. It's cool. It's got the dinosaurs. It's got like a cool storyline.
The characters were not handled well. They're all very shallow with no motivation, and anybody could have played any of those roles. Nothing about that makes me think this person should do a Star Wars.
I think that they were like way in like with the CGI.
Oh yeah.
And I think the whole like taking. I've never liked the progression in each movie they do it. They progress on how smart the raptors are. You know, we're getting smarter and smarter and smarter. But to the point where you could be their pack leader and like teach them. Maybe I could kind of get on board with that, but when you get to like the T-Rex, that's a little bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, I would have liked to have seen more animatronics.
Yeah, there's plenty of opportunities for them to do animatronics in that movie. I understand that you have to do CGI at some points, but there's no animatronics in that.
There's no animatronics, yeah.
Which is that's the reason that 20 years later, 25 years later almost, we can watch Jurassic World. Or not Jurassic World, Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park, yeah.
And it holds up. Jurassic Park is still a better movie than Jurassic World. And there's like 25 years between them. Wait, 25, is that right? Or
well, no, because
20.
It was 93, so it's 23.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, but anyways, that's a whole. So I kind of want to, unless there's some things that really you want to stand out that feel like you didn't get a chance to talk about with the movie. I'm thinking I'm kind of ready to wrap it up, give my last rating scale, and
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, have someone else take the reins, jump in or something. That's or at least
I think Zack Snyder gave us a good starting point. He's like, here's the beginning of the DC universe, but I don't think that he has the capability to continue the storytelling and keep it as rich as what some of the Marvel storytelling.
By all means, continue to be a big part of it. You know,
yeah.
like
his visuals are unmatched. His visuals kill Marvel.
Yeah,
like,
for sure,
by far.
Sure. But give someone else the driver's seat.
Honestly, what they should do. I know there's a lot of other things he wants to work on, but I would not mind Ben Affleck being the Godfather of the DC universe, both like via character and via director.
Well, he's a good director.
He's a really good director. And I think that would be just the way to go. But yeah, so for my review, it's changed. The first time I watched it, I had people text me right when I came out of the theater, what'd you think? And I said, I'm really trying to process. There was a lot that happened. Some I liked, some I didn't like. But I still came out giving it an 8. I was like 8 out of 10, which is 2 points less than I wanted it to be. I want to come out being like, this is the greatest comic book movie I've ever seen. Because I was saying 9.5 when I came out of Man of Steel. I loved it so much. But yeah, I was like 8. And then I sat and I talked with Jordan. I talked to some of my friends. I watched like 10 more reviews just to kind of see what the general consensus everyone has. And people kept reminding me of things. I was like, that didn't work. There are so many things that didn't work. And I heard one reviewer say that this is it's a horrible splat of awesomeness is what this movie is. And I was just like, that's pretty accurate. It's like somebody just took like, you know, kind of like what we said earlier. It was like a handful of great ideas, took another handful of crap and threw it at a wall. And we got Batman v Superman. And I came out, I went from 7.5 and going down to a 7.
I'm right with you. I'm at a 7. Both leaning towards like a 7.1 or a 6.9. I know that's not that much of a difference, but when you see like 6, it's like, yeah. And when you 7.
7, yeah. 7 out of 10 is
not a bad score either, though. If you get 7 out of 10 on a test, you still did pretty good. You know?
Yeah, it's still passing. It's a passing grade, and I think that it's set up.
I don't think it was a flop.
No, it wasn't a flop. And there's some people, like, on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like a 20 or 30-something %, which I think is horrible and undeserved. I think people are just mad at this movie for not being what they wanted it to be.
I think critic and viewer reviews are in the 40s, low 40s.
I thought audience review was a lot higher. I could be wrong, though. There was a point when the first day the movie came out, there was about a 50% difference between critic review and audience review. I haven't looked at it in the last couple days, the last day or so. But yeah, but what we encourage is obviously if you're at this point you've already seen it, but I want to hear what everybody that's watching or listening thought of the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's a lot of points to discuss, and there's, other than Ben Affleck, there's nothing that anybody wholeheartedly agrees on in this movie. I haven't heard one person say they didn't like Ben Affleck yet, and I've listened to a lot of different reviews and read a lot of different reviews. Jesse Eisenberg's mixed. Gal Gadot's mostly positive. But I definitely want to know what everybody else says. And with that, is there anything that you really want to wrap up about the movie? Or...
No, like it. Yeah, it was an enjoyable experience. It was a good time. Yeah, it was good. It was a good time.
I saw it twice.
Really cool.
I don't think I'll see it again in theaters.
See it again.
You will see it again
in theaters.
I think you should see it at least twice.
Yeah.
And I say that to everybody. If you've only seen it once, I'd recommend seeing it a second time because you pick up on more. It helps process because that movie is a trip. When you get out of it, you don't really know what just happened. Mm-hmm. And so,
I definitely at least want to see it again. It might get a little lower on my priorities.
Sure.
But yeah, at least that's what I plan.
All right.
Right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up the first Fan Splash podcast.
Yeah. So thank you guys for joining us. And like I say over on my channel, if you want to check that out, that's Think Now on YouTube. And I'll say may the film be with you, and we'll see you guys again soon.
I don't have a sign off.
No sign off for Tyler.
No sign off. Have a good one. Thank you.